Welcome to Chemo Coffee Talk, your weekly dose of resilience, inspiration, and a whole lot of heart. I'm Carly Fouth, a triple-negative breast cancer survivor who started this podcast right from my chemo chair, and now I'm coming to you straight from my kitchen. Whether you're fighting the fight yourself, supporting a loved one, or just here for a little encouragement, you're in the right place. Every week, we'll chat with my cancer-fighting buddies, caregivers, and experts, sharing stories that are real, raw, and uplifting. So grab your favorite mug, brew up some resilience, and let's dive into a conversation filled with humor, hope, and the unstoppable human spirit. I'm committed to continuing this podcast to reach and help as many people as possible. And any kind of support makes a huge difference. So subscribe and share it with friends. Your support keeps me going and helps me spread hope even further. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Chemo Coffee Talk. Instead of a standard intro like I like to do for my guests, I think the best intro I can give today is to describe to you how I met my guest, and that will describe a little bit about why I asked her to join me on today's episode. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not constantly just seeking people out all the time. Like, you have cancer, you want to be on my show? So this happened in a really great way, I think. So I was going to get my hair done for the first time since I've been on this cancer journey. I finally had long enough hair to do something with. So I was heading to my hairdresser, Melissa, who I love to death. And I sat in her chair and there was a woman getting her hair done next to me. And my hairdresser said, "Oh, you should meet Kendra Lynch. She's a breast cancer survivor too." So of course I whipped myself around with the hair foils and I started to ask her some questions. And it became clear very quickly that her and I share a very similar mindset. And it's not as common as you may think to find these other kindred spirits who kind of deal with life and make lemonade out of lemons, similar to how I feel I handled the situation. And I have to admit that for some reason, and I can't even remember why, I was just having one of those days where I was in my head about this whole cancer thing. We have those days, even as mentally strong as you think you are, you can still dip from time to time. And Kendra was exactly who I needed to talk to at that moment. So I am going to let Kendra introduce herself a little bit. What we will be talking about today is the BRCA gene, because Kendra does have the BRCA gene, and this kind of leads into the story too, which I will share of what exactly Kendra said to me. I'll say that a little later in the podcast. That kind of just made me be like, it's like, she's so cool. Like, I need to be around Kendra more. So Kendra, welcome to Chemo Coffee Talk. Thank you so much for joining me. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure. Thanks, Carly. I'm happy to be here. So again, kind of like Carly, when you first talk to people, like you pass a lot of people that have cancer, been kind of in the place that we're at, and everyone handles it differently. So you always are a little bit cautious about, what do I share? Like, where are they in their journey? And the second that I spoke with Carly, I was like, oh yeah, she's my jam, right? Yeah. So I actually, just to give you a little background, I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor. So I first was diagnosed in 2015 and then diagnosed in 2023. And the BRCA gene actually is really important to my journey and kind of how I was able to get through both of my diagnoses the way I did. Quick story, my mom, I grew up with breast cancer. So my mom was a 4-time breast cancer survivor. My aunt, 2-time breast cancer survivor. It was in my family, right? So I just assumed that there was some genetic component as I turned into an adult, and genetic testing wasn't a thing back then. It was, they were starting to talk about it, but it wasn't mainstream. You couldn't just go get tested if you wanted to, even with a family history. So my mom's last diagnosis in 2010, her oncologist said to her, "Hey, Kendra's paying for her mammograms out of her pocket because no one will cover it. So even with the family history, let's test you so that Kendra can get tested. And then at least we can, get her covered if she is positive." So I went through that, got tested, was positive, which I kind of expected anyway, So for those of you who don't know, BRCA is basically, everyone has it, right? So you have BRCA1 and BRCA2. It just depends on if you have a mutation. So BRCA is a tumor suppressor gene. So your DNA gets damaged in life all the time, and BRCA fixes it. It's your repair gene. So for people like me who have a mutation in that, it doesn't reconstruct and doesn't fix that broken DNA. So the cells continue to multiply, which is why you're at a higher risk for breast cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate, and even melanoma, believe it or not. So anyway, so I tested positive, and the first thing that I did was call the cancer center. So I'm lucky that we live in the Boston area. So Dana-Farber is right down the road, and they have a cancer genetic and prevention group that I immediately got in with. So I know that some people react differently, I think. It depends. I don't know, Carly, like if you've interacted with a bunch of people who are BRCA positive, but people tend to have two different mindsets. They're kind of either like, oh no, what do I do now? And they are terrified. Or my mindset was kind of, okay, sweet. What can I do now? Like what action can I take?
And that is exactly, I was hoping you'd like allow me to like give me a segue to talk about the question that I asked you about the BRCA gene and when we were talking about this.
Yeah.
And you said I can't remember the question I asked you, but your answer was, yeah, I'm probably going to get cancer again, but I'm not afraid because then we'll just deal with it when it comes. And I think what was bothering me that day was a fear of my cancer coming back, which like it just settles in sometimes. And to hear you say like, yeah, I'm probably going to get again and like we'll deal with it when it comes. I was like, that's like the best advice because it's coming from someone who is living with the fear that I'm living with as well. And you said it in such a natural way where I was like, yeah, I could choose to look at this situation like that too. And I have to tell you that since I met you, I have not gone down that rabbit hole because I pull myself up when I think of what you said. So let's talk a little bit about that mindset because a lot of people, including myself, when I was doing the genetic testing, I do have a genetic mutation. It's check 2. But when I was talking to the genetic doctor, the thing that she was mostly covering and trying to like reassure my fears or educate me on is the BRCA gene, because that is the gene that everyone is so scared of testing positive for. So how do you shift your mindset and face that with the strength that you have? Like what, I know you said it was in your family, so you were used to it, but how else have you changed your mindset?
So I say this to everybody who asks me about BRCA is I view it as a cheat code. Like I totally got to cheat the system because I think for a cancer patient, the worst part of their entire journey is the words, you have cancer. And I hear that from so many people. And I view it as information that I got early. I was able to get screened twice a month with top oncologists and a top team and a top genetic counselor 5 years before I heard the words, you have cancer. So for me, it was, I got to cheat the system. Like, how lucky am I?
Yeah,
Like
you got the gateway into the care that you needed. And that is another great way to look at it too, that you're in a fast track.
100%. Like, so as soon as I found out, I got my genetic counselor, got to work with my oncologist. 5 years later, when I actually was diagnosed, not only was it stage 1 and super small and manageable because I was getting screened every 6 months, but I already had such a relationship with my doctor, with my oncologist, my whole team. Like, it was okay. We put this plan in place. We already knew what the plan was. It was just, okay, execute it. Perfect. Let's go schedule surgery. Let's go schedule, whatever the steps are. So for me, I was like, wow, I'm so lucky. And
Yeah.
it's trust in your team.
That is, I have to tell you that out of anything anyone has ever said to me, like that mindset and that way of like kind of flipping the script and thinking of it as a way of working for you has completely comforted me. Like I just said, like I just think that's so profound. So I'm just so happy that you shared
Oh, that's
that with
awesome.
the listeners too.
Yeah.
So let's talk about advice you'd give to someone who just learned they carry the BRCA mutation, because maybe it's somebody who didn't realize that like their family was never tested and they didn't realize they had it. And now all of a sudden they have this diagnosis, they have the gene. What advice do you give to somebody who just learned that they have it?
So I think my first bit of advice is to breathe. It's going to be okay. You are now in control. So I think that's step 1 is to try to put your mind, and again, everyone thinks of it differently, right? So I'm more of a person that is going to look for action. Other people may panic first. Like, that's fine. Whatever your initial reaction is, let it be, but then take a breath. And then my first bit of advice is to get in contact with a cancer center near you. If you don't live near a city and don't have one, look still cancer treatment centers somewhere near you. So reach out to them. Let them know, hey, I got a BRCA mutation diagnosis. Can I meet with your genetic counselor? That person will put you in touch with the oncology team. You'll get your team set. Whether you may never get cancer, great. You've still met a bunch of awesome people.
Yeah.
And you're still being screened, right? So they'll work with you and make sure that you're getting screened every 6 months. Make sure that you'll have MRIs and, whatever your path is, you'll have a team that's helping you along that path. So that's the initial section. Get educated. Get educated. You have a lot of choices, right? So when you're BRCA positive, there's plenty of people who are going to go do a double mastectomy because that makes them feel better. They like the lower risk of not having breast tissue to get cancer. Great. That's your role. Talk to a doctor, get educated. Other people like myself, my path was I wanted to get screened and get educated and have my plan in place so that when I got diagnosed, I knew that if my tumor was able to be, taken out and with a lumpectomy versus a mastectomy, that was what I personally wanted after working with my team. That plan was in place. I knew all of the different options of chemo and radiation. So get your plan with your team. Perfect. Next, do everything you can to take care of yourself. So I was a tennis player competitively. I really can't play competitively anymore after surgery, but I'm getting back. But even if whatever you can do, if you do nothing, start to do something. If you're a marathon runner, keep doing your marathons. Whatever it is on the spectrum, go do it because that BRCA mutation, it doesn't fix damaged DNA. So do everything that you can to make your body as healthy as it can be. Eat right. I'm not saying don't have your candy bar and your treats and deprive yourself, but make sure that you're eating as well as you can. And all of those things I think are the basics. And then it goes into don't live your life in fear. Because your team that you now have, you have the cheat code, right? So if you get diagnosed, odds are it's going to be relatively early because you're being screened so often. Odds are that you already love your care team and you're just going to put something in place.
That is such good advice. And I love that you said the exercise piece because anybody who's been listening to this podcast or following me knows that that's my passion is it doesn't matter if you haven't exercised up to the point, if you get a diagnosis, that is the time to start because it can help your chances of reoccurrence. It can up your chances of fighting the cancer. And it's also really good for your mindset because in order to have a mindset like you have, Kendra, you need to make sure you're taking care of your body and the nutrition piece. Like it all plays off each other. You don't just, I don't think it's a practice. Don't you think like the mindset is a practice?
Absolutely.
You don't just wake up
100%.
one day and be like, I'm not going to be scared of cancer. Like you've been practicing this your entire life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And going back to taking care of, yourself and moving, that's kind of the one thing that you can do for yourself, right? You can't control if you end up with cancer or not, especially if you're BRCA positive. So you can't control it. So control the things you can control, your team, moving your body, eating properly, and then know that if you are diagnosed, keep doing all of those things, but you're going to get through it.
Yeah. And live your life. And I like also that you said that you can still have the candy bar because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh my gosh, then I was going to eat this. And then I thought I shouldn't be eating this. And I'm like, let's all take a deep breath. You're allowed to have a candy bar or a piece of ham. It's not like once in a while as a treat. This is not going to like completely destroy you. Let's all just like relax.
Take a breath, right?
Yes. Everyone is just like, do this, don't do that. And it's
true, right? And then people think that, oh, well, if I get cancer, then I did something wrong. Well, no, you didn't.
No.
Nope. And in order to live your life and not be in fear, it has to be a livable life, right?
Yes.
So I can't restrict myself crazy, even after 2 diagnoses, right? Like it's sure, I do all of those things, but guess what? I have my candy bar, maybe I don't get to the gym every day, but I do something and it's always front of mind.
Yeah, I love that. So now that you've survived cancer and you have the BRCA gene, your deck of cards, everything's in place for you. How has that shaped the way you live your life today? So and I always like to pose this as like, well, never thank cancer because cancer is stupid, but it does change you if you're open to seeing it, there is a lot of positive that happens. So what are some of the positives for you?
So I think first is the amazing people that I've met along the way. Like I said, I mean, Dana-Farber is a home away from home. That's my care center. A home away from home for me. Every time I walk in that building, I know a lot of people get anxiety when they walk in. To me, it's the most calming place in the world for me. I walk in and it's just peaceful. So I think all the amazing people, other survivors, party events that I do, all of those things, I've met such amazing people. And I think without my diagnosis, I wouldn't have had the perspective to appreciate all those amazing people, I don't think. Second, I think is just appreciating every day, like the little things like, oh, there's a wrinkle there. Okay, sweet. I'm healthy and I'm cancer free right now and I'm living my life. Like, whatever, like there's trouble at work. Fine, whatever. Like, I'm healthy. I'm cancer free right now. I'm living my life. I think the perspective, it changes your perspective for sure. I appreciate every day, that I'm here. I have a 15-year-old son. So every day that I get to, watch he's a tennis player, and one of his matches or, be at something, I'm just appreciative that I live in a time where BRCA testing is a thing and our cancer treatment is so amazing in this country that I can be here for everything.
I love that. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So what's one thing that you wish more people understood about the BRCA gene and also the power of resilience?
Sure. I think the one thing I wish they understood is that you got a gift. I know it sounds stupid, but
No.
it is a cheat code. It so is a cheat code. Like, you get to avoid the scariest thing that's happened to a lot of people. Hearing blindsided, you have cancer with no plan in place out of the blue. If you're BRCA positive, that will never happen to you. Sure,
Good point.
you may hear those words, but you will never be blindsided like so many people. You have the opportunity to get ahead of it and to get a plan, appreciate it. And it's not to tell you how to feel, but try not to be scared of it. Try to look at it in the positive, because it's honestly the best thing that has happened to me is knowing that I had that gene mutation and I could actually get a plan in place.
And maybe you don't know the answer to this question, and it's fine
Yeah.
if you don't, because I'm kind of throwing this at you off the cuff, but it's something that I wonder too. So is there a way, let's say somebody's listening and they're like really nervous about the BRCA gene and they just want to know if they have it. There is no family history. There really isn't a reason for them to be tested. What can people do about this?
So I recommend talking to either your OBGYN or your primary care. Let them know. And I think that the rules, again, I've gotten tested so long ago now that I think the rules are a lot looser. They can at least guide you on what actually is covered by insurance and what isn't. But I know now if there's any history at all in your family, or I think even if there's not, that you can still get it covered, but they will help you facilitate that test. I mean, it's a simple blood test. It's
Yeah,
not
it's not a
anything
big
that
deal.
is, you don't need to go for, to a special center or anything. It's just a blood test. But definitely reach out to them and they should be able to point you and let them know that, you'd like to be tested.
And then this is another additional question
Yeah,
because
sure.
I like to talk to other moms who have gone through
Mhm.
this. So,
Yeah.
how do you think that this whole experience, because we talked a little bit about how it changed you having a mom dealing with the diagnosis. And I think that's kind of has been a gift to you, pulling on your past experiences and the past fear that has helped you, I think, work through what you're going through now. It wasn't something new. It was
Sure.
something that was there. So,
Yeah.
how do you think, what's one positive that your son has maybe pulled from watching you go through this with such grace and resilience? Do you see that he's learning from you in certain situations?
Absolutely, without question. He is one tough cookie. He
Yeah.
is tough. And I think I've always been very open, especially in our family with, my mom's history. And we have unfortunately a lot of cancer in our family, but we've always been very open and honest about it. Cancer isn't a scary word in my family. It's very, fact-based, right? So my son, if he hears of a diagnosis of, a friend or family member, his first question is, what stage is it? Are they doing chemo? Is it radiation? Like, he's very informed.
Yeah.
But it helps him realize that the medical world isn't scary. That I think a lot of kids growing up, they usually only go to a primary care doctor if they're lucky. They don't have a lot of specialists. So I think learning that in the world, cancer is a scary word, but if you manage it and if you, learn and get all the information, that it's possible that, it can be just a point in your life as opposed to defining your life.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sure it's changed him for the better. I mean, I know with my kids too, even though we're very open about it too. It's just not that big of a deal anymore.
Yep.
But I
Yep.
can see certain situations where I'm like, oh, I think watching me go through a tough time like that has helped them. They have something to pull on to help them get through a tough experience. So I think
For
that's
sure.
hugely important. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's seen me, I didn't miss a game or something because I was going through treatment. I, was still doing everything. I was still going to the gym and I was still living my life and I was still there.
Yeah.
So I think just the strength of, not just lying down, to force yourself to be strong and to move your body and do things like that. I think it helped him realize, all right, well, if mom was going through cancer treatment and she can do that, then, all right, my tough day, I can be tough too. So I like to
I
think
love
that
it.
had part of making him a tough kid.
That
Yeah.
well, he's lucky to have you as a mom. I feel so
Hey,
lucky
yours
to
too.
have met you on like it just the universe always has your back because I needed to meet you that day. I'm so happy that you agreed to be my guest. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. If anyone has any questions about the BRCA gene, would you be willing to talk to
Of
them? How
course.
can they reach you?
100%. Any question, wherever you are in your cancer journey, I've been through this, for a long time. Kendra, Kendra .Lynch, Lynch at Yahoo is my email. Feel free, reach out. I get questions from people all the time, just in life on, a lot of my journey and BRCA, and I'm happy to help anybody.
I'll put that in the show notes just
Yeah,
to have it in one
for
place.
sure.
But thank you again for joining me, and we will stay in touch so
For
we
sure.
can just
Yes.
support each other on our journeys.
Absolutely. Yes. This was so much fun, Carly.
Thanks for joining me today on Chemo Coffee Talk. I hope this conversation left you feeling inspired, uplifted, and a little more connected. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with someone who might need it, and leave a review. It helps me reach more people looking for hope and resilience. And remember, no matter what you're facing, you're never alone. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep moving forward.